All right. Which one of the following does not figure in the Millennium Development Goals, MDG? How many Millennium Development Goals are there? Kindly answer. I would really expect a right answer, which is that there are 8 types of MDGs, right? So here, eradication of extreme poverty and hunger, yes. Improvement of maternal health, yes. Combating HIV, AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, yes. Promoting good governance, no. No. All right. So the first 3 ones are right, but the last one is wrong. Depreciation of domestic currency, what it leads to. See, when there is depreciation is when the values reduce due to, right? So then the values reduce. Take it as that. Simple economics. When depreciation of domestic currency is there, right? So it leads to your rise in your exports, right? So if the question is is it export, import, either import or export or both of it. So here your answer is going to be import, because whenever there is a depreciation of your domestic currency, it always leads to your exports, right? Depreciation in a domestic currency, that means your rise in your export levels, right? And when there is your appreciation of your domestic currency, what it leads to? It leads to your imports, right? If it is clear. Consultancy comes under which of the economic activity? So we have discussed, I think we have not discussed this. Let me discuss it over here only. So there are, see, initially in your 8th and 9th standard, what we have like always studied. So there are 3 types of sector. Primary is for raw material, secondary manufacturing, and third tertiary is for services. But we have not read of this quaternary sector. So what is this quaternary sector? Basically, this is the communication technology, media, communication services, research and development, consultancy. So all these things comes into your quaternary sector. Okay. Primary, secondary, and tertiary. So we all know, right? Great. What is GST? So basically, what is GST? Is it a corporate tax? Is it a direct tax? It's a gift tax or an indirect tax. We have always started. So it was introduced in the year 2017, right? 1st July 2017. And also this GST is your indirect tax, because this was the act, or this was the GST tax when it was introduced. So this was a tax which replaced all your SAT, VAT, and all those things, right? Because your service tax and all that thing, because this was the one which is an indirect tax. And also at the same time, there is one thing with this. Yeah. So the more, for example, the spend, right? The spend, the more luxurious any item would be, the more the tax that on that thing would be. For example, your automobile, your luxury car. So there is 28% GST on those, right? So that is the thing. Yes, we have already discussed this, that they do ask questions like this, right? So it's coming into a reality when when you see such questions. So that they have been asking, right? What is value, belief, norms, sanctions, folkways? They do myths. They do ask definitions of it, okay? They do ask the meanings of it, because the students get confused when they attempt such questions, right? They do know what a norm is, but they do get confused when they attempt such questions. So there needs to be a clarity. First one is a loosely set pattern of group behavior? No. When I say norm, so that is something that is accepted, that is done by the group, okay? Standards of behavior expectation shared by the group members seems logical. Lack of conformity of norms is accepted in the group? No, no. There are rewards or punishment when there is a lack of conformity or conformity, right? Regarding a norm. Moral values are a part of norms, not a part of norms. Very wrong, very wrong. So here the right answer would be, it's a standard of behavior expectation shared by group members, right? Great. What is your age for getting registered with Atal Pension Yojana? So you all have heard of this Atal Pension Yojana. It's quite popular, and of course this is like one of the schemes or the yojanas basically, which is so widespread. And see, the basic fault with all the schemes is that it is not known by people, and this is one of these schemes which is people know about it, right? So here, what is the age, or what is the eligibility age for registering in under this? So what is this, and what is this Atal Pension Yojana is about? So it's basically, it's a social security scheme right? And social security scheme is like that. For example, when post 60, when people retire, so they do get pension. And but for that matter, they have to spend for 20 years. For instance, 80 to 18 to 14 is 80 to 40, 18 year to 40, which is your first option. So this is the right answer, because this is the eligibility age in which you can get yourself registered in this Atal Pension Yojana. And your 40 to 60 is the time, because for 20 years you have to pay your contribution. Then only after 60, once you turn 60 or post retirement, then only you'll get your pension, as in the form of this. You'll definitely get your pension post this. And one to debate, depending on your contribution, is 2, 3,000 or 4,000, 5,500. So it is like that, right? I hope it is clear to you. COVID-19 pandemic is considered as your chemical disaster, natural disaster, human-made disaster, or your biological disaster. They do ask such questions because, of course, you'll get perplexed once you see such sort of question. Was it a chemical disaster? Not at all. Was it a natural disaster? No. Was it a human-made disaster? No. See, there have been, so you might get confused in the third and the fourth one. Is it a human-made disaster or a biological disaster? So here the answer would be fourth one. It's a biological disaster, right? All right. Which one of the following is not the step of PRA? So here many of the students have not read, because of course this is something that is taught in your MSW, in your social work course, right? So what is PRA? I just give you a brief of it. PRA is basically, this was one of the techniques or an intervention, or you should say a community development thing that was introduced by, or that was, that was introduced by, or this technique was developed by Robert Chambers. Okay, Robert Chambers was the person who introduced this PRA. What it is PRA? PRA is your participatory rural appraisal. What it is basically, so participatory rural appraisal is when, as a social worker, you go into the community. So here you, as a third person, you go into society or you go into the community and you tell them this is right, this is wrong. That is not a thing, right? People know what is right for them, people know what is wrong for them. So the stick should be given into the hands of people to plan for themselves. You should be act as a facilitator, you should act as an enabler or a meditator, but the stick should be given in the hands of the people itself. They should implement the program for themselves. They should participate in the decision making of their own society, community, right? So it is about that. So there are steps related to it. So what it is basically, so here people, knowledge, administration of participation. So as I said, people are involved in it. So people is a part of it. Knowledge is a part of it. Administration is not a part of it. Yes, participation, people's participation is a part of it, right? So here you're wrong. Your right answer would be this, administration. Great. What is this appropriation bill is? So this appropriation 2022 bill is, of course, students, those who have all read about the Consolidated Fund of India, or the CFI. So what is basically the CFI? See, all the expenses that the government has to make, right, during a financial year, or all the expenses that the government make. So what they do is, there is a thing, okay, which is called Consolidated Fund of India. So here the this is related to your, basically your finance. This appropriation bill 2022 is related to your finance, because this appropriations bill is associated with, see, when the government, or for the present year or that financial year, the government has to take out money from that Consolidated Fund of India for meeting its expenses. So for that matter, that entire, this bill is known as the appropriation bill. Okay, so this appropriation bill is associated with your finance. Okay. All right. What is root tag or your RUTAG? So basically your root tag or RUTAG is basically your Rural Technology Action Group. Now what it is, basically it is something that is in 7 IITs of the country. Yeah, IITs, your Indian Institute of Technologies, right? So Rural Technology Action Group, they are based in 7 IITs of the country, 7 in a priority list, right? So these are an institute of eminence. Okay. So here what happens with this is, so this Rural Technology Action Group, so the government in collaboration with these IITs, what they do is they plan or they devise or they make such devices which are useful for the development of or bringing the technology to the grassroots, to the rural area. So with the help of IITs or in the collaboration with the IITs, Rural Technology Action Group is basically, which is, so here the government and the IITs, they make technology or bring technology at the grassroots, right? And for the developing countries as well, here you see 2 machines have been recently sent to African countries, right? So basically this root tag is that. All right, great. Which variable is not a component of HDI, which is a Human Development Index? So what is the Human Development Index? Human Development Index is an index. Of course, it is. It was. This was designed by United Nations, right? And what does this measure? Human Development Index measures the socio-economic status of any country, right? Yeah, as I said, that it decides or it measures the socio-economic status of any country. So here there are 3 variables. Basically, there are 3 variables in this Human Development Index. Those are health, education, and your standard of living. Here in this one, what they have done is that they have not just directly mentioned your health, education, and decent standard of living, because they know that student would of course by heart it, right? So that these education and standard of living and your health. So what they have done is they have written the sub part of it. For example, life expectancy. Life expectancy is for your health. Access to knowledge is for your education, but decent standard of living is for your standard of living. But here your IMR, which is infant mortality rate, it does not, because it does not reflect much of a larger community, so it won't come under health, right? So kindly do not confuse life expectancy, access to knowledge, and decent standard of living. These are your 3 variables of your Human Development Index, which is your education, health, and your standard of living. All right. With this, we end today's class. And of course, in your next class, there are a few more questions left, right? So we'll discuss them in detail. But I hope till now you are able to understand them, able to understand that how these questions are framed. Now you have an understanding also. And I would request to solve more and more of it. And also by now, please check your score, right? How much you have scored till now. And we'll come up with another class tomorrow. All right. Thank you, students.